All right, we've got Michael Bisping versus George St. Pierre, GSP. People are talking about this fight. I don't. I would definitely watch it, but I'm going to give you my take on it. Is it going to happen? I don't really see that this fight would happen. I just seen. Hey, I don't usually do that, but when what I'm talking about is when people are just talking all these crazy fights. I usually don't. I don't really get too involved in the drama. This guy said that or that. I'm more a fan of fighting, but if people are talking about something, there's a chance that it could happen, so I'll make a video and give you my thoughts on it. I think the fight's completely ridiculous. Michael Bisping is way, way bigger than George St. Pierre. GSP is he's pretty small. He's not that tall. I don't know how tall he is. Michael Bisping is pretty large. I don't, the only reason I can even imagine that GSP would even want to fight at that weight is because he's bigger now. He's put on weight because he hasn't been fighting. So, and then someone said he wants $10 million. Well, of course he'll fight Michael Bisping for $10 million. And Michael Bisping is known not to hit hard. He can knock guys out. He knocked out Luke Rockhold. But he's not known for hitting really hard. So, I think that's really GSP's shortcoming. In other words, the way to beat GSP is to knock him out. I mean, you try and beat him in a points fight, it's like he always comes out on top. Even the stupid Johnny Hendricks fight, which obviously Johnny Hendricks won that fight. But then sitting counting strikes or something, I don't even know what it was, because I literally watched the fight. It's like I don't care if GSP touched him 1,000 times. I mean, you got beat down by Johnny Hendricks. That was an embarrassment. That was probably one of the most embarrassing, decisions, especially for a fight of that magnitude, especially for a title fight. We've seen some bad decisions over the years. That was a really bad one, man. That was just... And, man, I tell you what, I had no respect for GSP after that. GSP should have taken... I said this before. He should have taken that belt and walked across the octagon and just given it to Johnny Hendricks and said, I retire, or something like that. Or just given it to him and walked off, something like that. I mean, he got destroyed. He acted like he won that fight. So, anyway, this fight, and this is one of those instances where I would be rooting for Michael Bisping. Very seldom do I root for Michael Bisping. Michael Bisping, a lot of you guys may not know, he has made more money in the UFC than anybody. Unless Conor McGregor has now surpassed that because he's made so much money off like his last fight. But I don't think so. I think Bisping was always the number one, made the most money in the UFC ever. And he just had a big payday, too, against Dan Henderson. So, like I said, unless Conor passed it, because Conor paid some ridiculous amount off the pay-per-view for that last fight. But I think, if he's not number one, he's number two for sure. So I believe he's made more money than anybody in the UFC, which is kind of surprising, but just a lot of fights. This fight is really stupid, but like I said, I would be rooting for Michael Bisping, and I never root for Michael Bisping. It's not that I don't like the guy, just very seldom do I root for the guy. I can't remember when I ever rooted for Michael Bisping. I'm trying to think. I don't know who I would have to. I don't know who would Michael Bisping have to fight for me to be rooting for him. Man, I don't know. GSP. I'd be rooting for Michael Bisping. I do not like George St. Pierre. I never liked George St. Pierre. I could never stand George St. Pierre. I really think he was just horrible for the sport. I mean, I was so bored. For all those years that I watched GSP, and I could never figure out, I'm like, why doesn't somebody please knock this guy out? Why doesn't somebody please throw a flying knee? When he comes in, why don't you jump and just knee this guy in the face when he comes in for them takedowns and gonna lay on you? I mean, I would literally train that. I'd have a guy with a big headgear and a big pillow around his head come in for a takedown, and I'd throw a flying knee on you. I would literally practice. I would practice that. Michael Venom Page practiced that. He knocked out Cyborg, put a hole in his head. He was practicing a flying knee for someone when they come in like that. I could never understand. Somebody please knock out George St. Pierre. Knock this guy out. But, you know, they didn't. They won. You know, anyway. George St. Pierre versus Michael Bisping. There's really no point in breaking this down. I don't even know who would even want to watch this fight. I don't know who would even want to watch George St. Pierre anytime. And now he's old and fat, and he can't even make 170 pounds, even though he has the frame of like a 155er. But he's all muscled up on steroids. And of course, the fight's going to have to be in Canada, so he can take all the steroids, you know. Because that's the thing, nobody ever drug tested George St. Pierre. He always fought in Canada. Guy was jacked to the gills, just laid on people. If he comes back, I hope somebody just absolutely destroys him. I'd like to see him get knocked out. I don't usually like to say that, but somebody just please just get rid of this fool. And why would you take the fight against George St. Pierre in Canada? Why would anybody take that fight? I mean, people should just refuse. I'm like, this guy's obviously jacked on steroids. I'm like, can't you see this? Like, George St. Pierre absolutely sucks. Probably the worst. I mean, just a blatant cheater and everything about the guy. Steroid user, just, lay and pray fighter. Everything I don't like about a fighter. I don't like the guy at all. I'd like to see Michael Bisping destroy him. I'll see you later.